I've been a GP in Middlesbrough for the last 15 years. I've been an executive GP on the clinical commissioning group, and I'm also the clinical director of our primary care network, which is made up of 7 practices. Actually, the decision to do the course was funnily enough made on a train journey. I'd attended a course in London on primary care homes, and as you would do, I'd picked up a few leaflets as I was leaving the conference. And on my train journey back home, I was rummaging through the leaflets, and one particular leaflet actually attracted my attention, and that was the advanced diploma in primary care management. And what attracted me to the leaflet was the words primary care. Now, I'd been in leadership roles for almost 10 years I think it was early 2019, when I'd come to London. And I'd attended various courses, leadership courses. Some lasted weeks, some lasted months. But I'd never come across one which had such a focus on primary care. And being a GP myself for 15 years and recently appointed as clinical director of primary care network, I was quite keen to explore. So I came home, looked in more detail, and the course content seemed really important. It talked about leadership skills, it talked about governance and finance, all very relevant to primary care, which we really don't get in any other courses. And the other thing was, it seemed daunting at first to do a 1-year academic course, but I also thought that I'll actually be able to consolidate all the learning which I'd done in the course by doing the academic module. So I think that's what attracted me to the course. So we had an initial plenary session at Leeds, and we got an introduction to our tutors, met a few other people who were going to join on the course, but it was like a half a day session. I did leave Leeds thinking, oh my God, what have I signed up to? Because I had no experience of remote learning previously. I mean, we live in different times now. Remote learning and remote working is the norm, but not in early 2019. So I was a bit worried, but I think I was reassured after the first live session itself. It was an evening of Tuesday or something like that, and I'd rushed in from work, logged onto my computer, and felt really supported by the tutors. And suddenly your course colleagues who you'd never met, you were having discussions with them. I really enjoyed the live sessions. You would have breakout rooms. So my experience, I think I was a bit wary about the remote learning initially, but I was soon reassured, and it actually didn't feel any different if I'd had face-to-face learning. And I think people who join the course now might actually be more receptive right from the beginning, because, as I said, remote learning and remote working is the norm now. The course content was really good, is very well researched, and just kind of taking part in discussion forums is really important. It consolidates your learning, and with each module you have to do a project. So for my first module, which was on leadership and personal effectiveness, I took up a project on uh, developing a social prescribing service for our primary care network, which was very topical and very hands-on. So I could use all the skills, and we developed a social prescribing service for RPCN. For my second module, I looked at how the practices could work as a loose federation, again, very relevant to what I was doing. So that was very effective. And the third module, by the time it came, it was COVID, and we were establishing COVID hot hubs. And I did my project on assessing the value of these hot hubs. What was the value? What was the value for money? What was the value for service users? And uh, financially, were they viable? So every bit of the course content was very useful, and I absolutely felt great that I'd chosen to do this course because I could use all those skills. Adult learning is always challenging because in addition to doing your work, you have to be a mother, a wife, and you have to do the learning as your children are learning as well. So I think for me, it was really important to understand why I wanted to do it. And I'd read a book by Simon Sinek, and I think it starts with why. And we heard about Simon Sinek in our course as well. And I think it was very important for me to understand the why, because the what and how of doing the course was the easier bit. The why gave me the commitment, and I made time for it. And I'm not saying it was easy, it was hard, but there's never enough time in our life. And once the course finished, my life is still busy. I sometimes think, where did I make time for it? But once you are clear why you want to do it, you will make time for it. Regarding the course content, that's applied to you well in advance. And if you read a little bit every day, then you won't be sacrificing your weekends. And you just have to try what works for you, because at some point I tried, I'll leave it till the weekend and not do anything during the week. And then I dreaded studying on the weekends and sacrificing family time. Whereas if I found an hour each day to read through the course content, I felt that I was connected every day. And by the time it came to the live discussions, I felt that I was abreast with most of the things. There's so much of course content that I wouldn't, you know, I didn't beat myself up for not finishing it. But if I had kind of done the majority of it, I was happy. But the most important thing I would say to people who are taking up this course in future is to take part in discussion forums, because you get into the habit of putting your thoughts in writing, and no, none of your views are right or wrong. Just put them down there, let people critique it, and you critique other people's views, and you learn a lot from that. And writing down early on in the course gets you into the habit for writing when it comes to doing your assessment. In my first module, I attended um, every online tutorial. I took part in a lot of discussion forums, and I got merit in my assessment. And I think it's because I took part in discussion that I felt more confident doing the assessment. I passed in my other modules as well, but my attendance had slipped a bit because life had got busy. I still passed, and I have my certificate to show everyone that I did pass my, I got my diploma. But again, what I learned from that was that if you take part in discussions, if you attend your online tutorial, it will definitely make it much easier. Yeah, the other thing which I would say is we created a WhatsApp group quite early on, and we had that informal way of discussing, sharing our worries, sharing about assessments or any resource which we came across. We didn't wait for the weekly online catch up, but we could exchange our views there. And it varied from being very light-hearted chat to kind of sharing what you'd learned along the way and sharing top tips about learning how to do referencing. So create a WhatsApp group and keep connected that way. And even though the course has finished, I'm still in touch with a couple of the practice managers I met on the course, and we are still sharing our learning and our processes, our pathways. So you'll make really good connections during the course. So we are in the midst of a COVID pandemic, and COVID vaccination seems to be, the most topical thing which we are talking about. As a PCN clinical director, I have led 7 practices to establish a vaccination site where we are going to vaccinate 50,000 of our population among 7 practices. I think the course has come to fruition with the vaccination clinics because I've used various leadership skills. I've learned situational leadership, um, different kind of leadership styles with my peers, different leadership style with other staff. And the most important thing is stakeholder engagement. I've had to speak to the local councillors, politicians, about how we are delivering the vaccinations, the amount of traffic there is, having to speak to council people to grit the roads. So I think everything which I learned in module 1 is coming there, plus the governance and the finance bit of delivering these vaccination clinics. I understood more about our NHS constitution and governance while I did the course. So I think the COVID vaccination hubs have been the culmination of all my learning of the 3 modules. And I just sometimes think, was it meant to happen? Because it's surreal that whatever I've learned, I'm putting into practice now.